This maze is so hard. They get so narrow at the bottom.
Why would you do that? That's not funny at all! Why would you do that to me? Why did you do that?
Today we'll be learning about energy transformations. Take a look at these pictures that represent different forms of energy and see which forms you can identify. The sun represents nuclear energy. The lamp represents electromagnetic energy or light. The batteries represent electrochemical energy. Fire represents thermal energy. The jet represents sound energy. The gas truck represents chemical energy. And the electrical wires represent electrical energy. Also recall mechanical energy, which can be divided into potential energy and kinetic energy, which can be divided into linear and rotational kinetic energy. But for today, we'll just focus on linear kinetic energy. Potential energy is given by the equation E equals mgh, m being the mass of the rock in this case, g being gravitational acceleration, 9.8 meters per second squared, and h is the height of the rock from the ground. The equation for linear kinetic energy is E equals 1/2 mv squared, m again being mass, and v representing velocity at which he is moving forward. Energy can be transformed from one form to another. What forms of energy do you see in this picture? The wind blows the windmill, which creates rotational kinetic energy, mechanical energy, which is then transformed into electrical energy. Take a moment now and turn to your neighbor and explain what types of transformations of energy you think take place in running a car. Are you ready for the answer? The gas you put into your car has chemical energy, which is then combusted. The expanding gas converts that energy into linear kinetic energy as it moves the pistons, which is then converted into rotational kinetic energy as the wheels turn. The electricity we use every day is also produced through a series of energy transformations. The chemical energy stored in coal is converted to thermal energy as it is combusted, which produces steam, which contains kinetic energy, which is then transferred to mechanical energy as it turns a turbine, which produces electrical energy. Next, let's practice making some calculations of these transformations using a dropping ball. You can calculate the transformation of mechanical energy from kinetic to potential energy using the equations we talked about earlier. When the ball is in the hand, it has potential energy, defined by mgh. Kinetic energy is equal to 0 because there is no velocity. So the total energy is equal to the potential energy, which is 19.6. Now let's pause the ball halfway down. The ball again has potential energy and kinetic energy, but the height has gone down and the velocity has gone up. Because of conservation of energy, the total energy is still 19.6. In the instant before the ball hits the ground, the potential energy is now 0 because the height is 0, and all of the energy has been transferred to kinetic energy, and we can solve for that equation, which will again equal 19.6 because of conservation of energy. For your homework assignment about this topic, you'll be asked to watch 3 YouTube videos produced by the YouTube channel Veritasium. Follow along as I show you how to access them. Go to youtube.com and do a search for bullet block experiment. The first 3 videos that come up in the search are the videos that you will use. Watch the experiment and then jump down to the result and then watch the explanation and fill out the worksheet that you'll be given about these videos. Hope you've enjoyed learning about energy transformations and have a great evening.
To announce is that we have a company, Toray Industries, from Tokyo, Japan, that is announcing one of the highest initial investments in South Carolina history, $1 billion. We are now in the carbon fiber business, ladies and gentlemen. They have bought 400 acres, investing $1 billion. Phase 1 creating 500 jobs in the small town of Moore, South Carolina, right here in Spartanburg County. There is no limit to what we can do in South Carolina. They are the largest manufacturer of carbon fiber in the entire world. They could have gone anywhere, and they picked Spartanburg County. What does that say? They picked it because they know South Carolina is business friendly. They picked it because they knew from the local to the county to the state government we were committed to them, and if they would invest here, we would take care of it.
It's been 8 months since the March 11 disaster in northeastern Japan, but there's still a long way to go before full-fledged reconstruction can be carried out. Police say close to 20,000 people have been confirmed dead or remain missing as of November 10th. 15,770 people are confirmed dead and 3,648 remain missing in the devastated prefectures of Miyagi, Iwate, and Fukushima. Reconstruction plans for the disaster-hit areas have been drawn up by 8 local governments in Iwate and 7 in Miyagi. The government's newly established rebuilding subsidies and other funds will shoulder all costs for relocation of residents to higher ground or inland regions. However, no criterion has been set to assess the value of flooded land the government will purchase from owners. Local residents will need more time to form a consensus on mass relocations and reconstruction projects.
Many residents worry every day about radiation from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant. Now the Japanese cabinet has endorsed a basic plan on cleaning up the radioactive fallout. The central government will be responsible for decontaminating the no-entry and evacuation zones. Radiation levels in these areas are especially high. Local municipalities will plan and carry out the cleanups in other affected areas. The central government will pay their bills. The plan says decontamination work will be carried out in areas where the annual radiation exposure reaches 1 millisievert or more. The Environment Ministry aims to cut radiation levels by about half within 2 years in areas where the annual radiation is below 20 millisieverts. The reduction target is raised to around 60% in schools and parks where children spend a lot of time.
This is the very first step to carry out the decontamination work.
Hosono says he wants to hold thorough discussions with municipalities before the cleanup begins.
Japan, the lower house of parliament has passed a third supplementary budget to promote reconstruction following the March 11th disaster and to also tackle the strong yen. The draft budget totals $154 billion. It earmarks $20 billion of those dollars to subsidize local rebuilding projects and $3.2 billion for radioactivity decontamination efforts. Another $6.4 billion is earmarked to Japanese companies for building new plants around the country. And this is to prevent the hollowing out of domestic industry from the super strong yen. The bill was sent to the upper house for approval.
More than 15 workers at the Idaho National Laboratory were exposed to low-level radiation today. Officials say the 17 employees were working inside